It started with a text message. At first, Julia thought it was a prank, a cruel joke from her friends who knew she loved the occult and all things forbidden. The message simply read, "Come to the old Whitmore house at midnight. You'll see." She didn't know who sent it, but a mix of curiosity and dread tugged her forward. The Whitmore house had been abandoned for decades, a looming relic of a family that vanished overnight. Windows shattered, paint peeling, and a strange aura that locals whispered about. Julia's heart raced as she imagined the stories she'd read online, ghosts, curses, and rituals gone horribly wrong. Still, she had to see it. The house was worse than she imagined. Its grand facade was crumbling, and the air smelled faintly of mildew and something else, something metallic, almost like blood. As she pushed open the front door, it creaked ominously, echoing down empty hallways that seemed impossibly long. Shadows twisted unnaturally across the walls, and every step she took sounded amplified, like she was being watched. A sense of wrongness settled over her, but curiosity drove her deeper into the house, to a room at the back where a single candle burned on the floor, its wax pooling like dark tears. Julia knelt beside the candle and noticed a circle etched into the dust on the floor. Strange symbols spiraled outward, intricate and precise, as though drawn by someone who understood forces beyond her comprehension. A single book lay at the edge of the circle, leather-bound, with no title. The pages were brittle, the ink faded, but the words on the first page made her stomach twist: "Speak the name, call the shadow, invite the unseen." A voice whispered inside her mind, not from the room, but from somewhere darker. She shivered and debated leaving, but the thrill of forbidden knowledge was intoxicating. Ignoring the pounding in her chest, Julia traced her fingers over the symbols, feeling a strange warmth under her skin. She read the incantation aloud, her voice trembling with fear and anticipation. At first, nothing happened, and she laughed nervously at herself, thinking it was just an elaborate joke or a test of courage. But then the candle flickered violently, and a cold wind swept the room, though all the windows were closed. The shadows stretched toward her like living things, writhing and whispering. Her laugh died in her throat as she realized something had heard her call. It came slowly at first, a presence pressing at the edges of her awareness. The shadows coalesced into shapes she couldn't quite comprehend, dark forms that slithered and moved just beyond the edge of her vision. She felt it inside her chest, a pressure that made her heart race and her lungs tighten. The room was no longer her own, the candle seemed to burn colder, and the air hummed with malevolence. She tried to stand, tried to flee, but her legs were frozen. Whatever she had summoned was awake now, aware of her, and it wanted something. A whisper echoed from the darkness, barely audible, but unmistakable: "You called me, and now you belong to me." Julia's blood ran cold. She stumbled backward, knocking over the candle, but the flame didn't die, it seemed to grow taller, taller than physics should allow. Symbols flared on the floor as if responding to her fear, and the air was thick with a stench that made her gag. Her mind screamed to run, to leave, but every instinct felt paralyzed. Something inside the circle moved with purpose, and she realized, with a shudder, that this was not a spirit, it was something older, something patient and infinitely cruel. Julia forced herself to move, crawling toward the door, but it slammed shut before she could reach it. She tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The shadows gathered at the edges of the room, creeping closer with a deliberate, inhuman patience. Panic bubbled in her throat as the whispering grew louder, a chorus of voices speaking in tongues she didn't understand. Her mind raced with every horror story she'd ever read, every warning ignored, and she realized she had no allies here, no one to help, no one to intervene. She had crossed the line, and the line had snapped behind her. A shape lunged from the darkness, faster than her eyes could follow. She screamed, falling backward, and felt something brush her shoulder with icy fingers. The sensation was electric, burning through her veins and chilling her to the bone. Every instinct told her to fight, to strike back, but her arms felt heavy, sluggish, as though the room itself were resisting her. The shadows enveloped the corners of her vision, and for a brief moment, She thought she saw faces, distorted, grinning faces staring at her from just beyond reality. As she struggled to her feet, Julia noticed the book again. Its pages had turned, though she hadn't touched them, stopping on a page she hadn't seen before, "The one who summons is never free." Her stomach twisted. The words made sense now. She hadn't summoned a spirit to entertain her curiosity. She had invited a predator, a force that existed beyond human morality or understanding. Her fear became sharper, colder, more precise. There was no chance of bargaining, no clever words to banish it. It was here, it was awake, and it would not leave willingly. Desperate for answers, she stumbled into another room and froze. A full-length mirror stood against the wall, but her reflection was wrong. It smiled when she didn't. It blinked when she closed her eyes. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it began to move independently, stepping closer to her even as she stepped back. She wanted to scream, but the sound stuck in her throat. The mirror, she realized, was not glass, it was a window into something hungry, something patient. And it had chosen her. Frantically, Julia flipped through the book again, searching for a way out. One passage caught her eye: "Offer what is dear to you, and the shadow may relent."